Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive.
I'm glad to be here.
Today we're tackling something that sounds simple, but gets pretty complex when you really look at it. Maturity.
Yeah.
We're going beyond just age, diving into those inner qualities that really show growth.
Exactly.
Our guide for this deep dive is an insightful conversation from the English Dialogue podcast
Oh, interesting.
with David and Sarah.
Okay.
They see maturity not as like a finish line,
Yeah.
but a constant journey of self-improvement.
I like that.
Are you ready to unpack this?
I am. Let's do it.
All right, let's jump right in. David and Sarah kick things off with a big one,
Okay.
taking responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
David had this great example. You accidentally delete a crucial file at work,
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
and you just want to blame anything but yourself. A tech glitch,
It's so tempting. Yeah, it wasn't me. It was the computer.
Right. But David's point is that mature people, they own their mistakes.
You know, that's something I've really been thinking about lately. It's not just about admitting fault, but there's this deeper level of, like, self-awareness, isn't there?
Absolutely.
It's recognizing your own, flaws and then using those flaws as opportunities to get better.
Oh, that's so good. It's like turning a negative into a positive.
Exactly.
I wonder if that's what Sarah was getting at when she said, admitting fault is a sign of strength, not weakness.
It really is.
Right. It takes guts to face your shortcomings head on.
It does. It takes a lot of courage.
It does.
And it builds trust.
Oh, like Sarah mentioned.
When you own up to your mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
you're showing others that you're honest, that you're accountable.
Yeah. And people are more likely to forgive someone who takes responsibility
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
rather than someone always pointing fingers.
Exactly.
So taking responsibility is huge. What other nuggets of wisdom did they have about this journey to maturity?
Well, they brought up something we probably all struggle with.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Emotional control.
Yeah.
And it's not about being like an emotionless robot or anything.
Right.
But about managing those emotions in a way that's, healthy.
Healthy, yeah.
That makes sense. Sarah made a point that really resonated with me.
What was that?
Feeling your emotions fully without being ruled by them.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Especially when things get tough.
Yeah, because it's easy to say, don't let your emotions control you.
Right.
But how do you actually do that?
That's a really good question. Think about it this way.
Okay.
Someone says something hurtful, right?
Yeah, happens all the time.
And your immediate reaction might be to,
Fire back.
lash out. But a mature person,
They take a moment.
they take a pause.
They breathe.
They process those feelings.
Yeah.
And then they choose a more thoughtful response.
It's like that space between stimulus and response
Exactly.
where you have the power to choose.
Exactly.
That pause, that's what prevents things from, totally blowing up.
It can really de-escalate a situation, can't it?
Totally.
And this doesn't just apply to, big arguments.
All right.
Sarah also talked about not letting little things ruin your whole day.
Oh, I struggle with that one.
Gave it to you?
Spilled coffee, traffic.
Oh, yeah. The worst.
This little frustration.
But it's all about perspective, right?
It is.
The mature person knows these things are just temporary setbacks.
Yeah, they don't sweat the small stuff.
Right, and they don't let it, derail their whole day.
I think about people who just seem to stay calm no matter what.
Yeah, they have this inner peace.
Is that something you can learn, or are some people just naturally wired that way?
That's a great question. I think it's probably a bit of both.
Nature and nurture.
Yeah, some people might be predisposed to certain temperaments,
Mm-hmm.
but emotional regulation,
Yeah.
that's definitely a skill you can cultivate.
So there's hope for us.
There is. And there's a whole field of neuroscience that's all about understanding how our brains process emotions. And it turns out
Wow.
we have more control than we think.
Wow, that's really empowering.
It is.
So it's not just about willpower. There are actual techniques.
Yeah, there are techniques, practices that can help us.
That's really encouraging to hear.
It means we're not just stuck with our knee-jerk reactions, right?
Right.
We can become more emotionally intelligent.
I like that.
And as we develop that emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
we get better at handling, life's curveballs.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right?
That makes me think about how I can approach situations differently.
Yeah, me too.
Speaking of approaching things differently,
Mm-hmm.
David and Sarah also talked about being open to feedback.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Right. And David especially, he really seemed to see feedback as an opportunity to grow.
Makes you think of that growth mindset idea.
Right. Exactly.
And Sarah added a point about not taking feedback personally.
Oh, which can be so tough.
It can be really challenging.
But they're saying that mature people understand that feedback, especially when it's constructive. It's not about them as a person.
Right. It's about the work.
Yeah.
It's about separating your ego from the equation.
Okay, so being less defensive and more receptive, but how do you get to that point where you genuinely welcome feedback?
Even when it's critical. Right.
Especially when it's critical.
I think a lot of it comes down to confidence.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, if you're secure in yourself, you can acknowledge those imperfections without feeling threatened.
Without feeling like you're being attacked.
Right. It's understanding that, hey, we all have areas where we can improve.
Well, I have room to grow.
Exactly. And feedback can help us find those areas.
So confidence helps you see feedback as constructive, not personal.
Exactly.
Like that.
And remember, confidence isn't about, being arrogant or thinking you're perfect. It's about knowing your strengths.
Your weaknesses.
Yeah.
And being open to learning.
Open to growing.
Right.
So confidence paves the way for feedback, but is there a flip side to this?
Ooh.
Can being too confident make you less receptive to feedback?
That's a really interesting point. I think there's a balance.
The sweet spot.
Yeah, you need enough confidence to be open to the criticism, but not so much that you just dismiss everyone else's perspective.
Right. So it's about finding that middle ground.
It is, and it's probably different for everyone.
Right. What might feel like healthy confidence to one person could seem arrogant to someone else.
Exactly, and that brings us back to self-awareness.
Ah, there it is again.
Right, and being mindful of, how others perceive you. It's also important to remember that not all feedback is created equal, is it?
Oh, that's a good point. Some feedback is just noise.
Exactly. Being able to, filter that out and identify the truly helpful stuff.
Yeah.
That's a key part of maturity. There's so much nuance to this idea of being open to feedback.
Well, there is. It's not just about saying yes to every suggestion.
Right.
It takes real, self-reflection and critical thinking.
Which makes sense because David and Sarah brought up another element of maturity.
What's that?
Respecting other people's opinion.
Ooh, that's a good one. Especially these days.
They talked about agreeing to disagree, especially in those, heated debates where everyone thinks they're right.
We've all been there.
Oh, yeah, we have.
Sarah had a great point. She said, a mature person values the relationship and the conversation more than, winning the argument.
Oh, that's so important because it's so easy to get caught up in...
I know. It's so easy to get caught up in being right.
And proving your point.
Yeah, but it's about understanding that your way of thinking isn't the only valid one.
Oh, yeah, that's humility, right.
It is, and it's about being genuinely interested in
Yeah.
understanding other perspectives.
Different points of view.
Exactly, valuing that diversity of thought.
It's even when you disagree, you can still learn from each other.
Absolutely, I love that.
It's so important now,
It is, especially in today's world.
where it feels like everyone's just shouting their opinions.
It's so easy to get stuck in those echo chambers,
Oh, yeah, the echo chamber.
surrounded by people who just agree with us. But maturity is about stepping outside of that comfort zone.
Engaging with different perspectives.
Yeah, having those tough conversations without letting them, ruin those connections.
So it's about building bridges instead of walls.
Exactly.
It's about fostering understanding, not division.
I love that. Understanding, not division. That's a good takeaway right there.
And sometimes that means putting your ego aside,
Mm-hmm.
just listening,
Right?
even if you don't agree.
Yeah, creating space for dialogue, for respectful disagreement.
What's striking me is how much maturity is about relationships. Not just with others, but with ourselves, too.
Yeah, that inner relationship.
It's understanding your emotions, being open to learning, valuing different perspectives.
And that brings us to another key element.
Oh, tell me.
Patience.
Patience.
David seemed to think it's a huge, easy part of growth.
It's interesting because he was saying that mature people aren't always looking for that instant gratification.
No, they're willing to put in the work.
Yeah, they're willing to wait for those results.
They trust the process.
That's a good one.
I understand that, real change takes time.
And Sarah added that it applies to being patient with others, too,
Yes.
because not everyone learns at the same pace, right?
Exactly. We're all on our own journeys.
We all have our own timelines.
And a mature person recognizes that they offer support instead of criticism.
Instead of judgment.
Right. They meet people where they are.
They offer encouragement
Right.
instead of rushing people or getting frustrated.
Exactly. That's such a healthy approach to relationships.
It really is.
It's about celebrating progress, no matter how big or small.
Big or small, I love that.
And it applies to so many situations. Helping a friend, mentoring someone at work.
Yeah.
Even just being patient with yourself as you learn something new.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Right.
Learning a new instrument, a new language.
It's all about patience, isn't it?
It is.
It's about fostering growth both in ourselves and in others.
And creating that supportive environment where we can all learn and grow at our own pace.
Exactly. And that actually leads us to another important aspect.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it. What's next on our maturity checklist?
Well, you know, life is full of surprises, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And they were saying mature people embrace that.
Embrace the uncertainty.
Yeah, and the change.
That's interesting because we all kind of crave stability, don't we?
We do, yeah.
But like you said, life is full of twists and turns. Did they have any advice on how to get better at dealing with that?
Well, Sarah's point was that instead of like digging in our heels,
Resisting.
yeah, resisting the change, we should try to see it as just a part of life.
Okay, acceptance.
Yeah, acceptance. And even better, see it as a chance to grow.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So instead of being scared of the unknown, you see it as an opportunity to, learn and evolve.
Learn and evolve, exactly.
Yeah.
David said that mature people don't like freak out.
Panic.
Yeah, when things don't go according to plan, they
Right.
stay calm, look at the situation, and find a way forward.
It's almost like they have this inner strength.
Resilience helps them bounce back.
Okay, so they're not just going with the flow. You're like, okay, that didn't work.
Right.
But what can I learn?
Yeah.
How can I adjust?
Exactly.
That's adaptability.
Yeah, they're resourceful. They find ways to, handle those ups and downs.
And it takes self-awareness to do that, right?
That does, yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier. Knowing your strengths,
Your weaknesses.
your values, priorities.
Yeah.
That helps you make good choices.
Right.
Even when things are changing around you.
Even when things are changing.
It reminds me of another point they made. Taking care of yourself.
Oh, yeah. Self-care.
Both physically and mentally. Sarah was really emphasizing that it's not selfish.
Oh.
It's necessary.
It's essential.
We have to prioritize things like
exercise.
Yeah, exercise, healthy eating.
Eating well, getting enough sleep.
Right.
Yeah, those aren't luxuries.
Right.
They're investments in our well-being.
And it's not just about our bodies.
Not just physical.
They were talking about mental well-being too.
Absolutely. Taking care of our minds.
And Sarah mentioned that mature people know their limits. They don't push themselves to burnout.
Right.
They understand that taking breaks is important,
Yeah, practicing mindfulness.
Yeah.
Even just doing things they enjoy. It's crucial for our mental health.
And they're not afraid to get help if they need it.
Yeah, that's something I think a lot of people struggle with.
It is.
Asking for help.
Yeah, but mature people realize that's actually a sign of strength, isn't it?
It is.
Not weakness.
No. It's about knowing that we all need support sometimes.
It all connects back to what we were talking about before, right?
Yeah.
When you take care of yourself physically and mentally, it gives you the energy to handle change better.
It does, yeah.
To manage your emotions, to be more open to feedback.
It's all interconnected.
It really is.
You can't, give what you don't have.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. When you prioritize your well-being, you're showing up for yourself and for others.
In a more meaningful way.
Absolutely.
So self-care isn't just pampering yourself. It's like
laying the foundation.
Yeah, for a more fulfilling life.
Exactly.
I like that.
And that brings us to the last qualities David and Sarah talked about.
Oh, I'm all ears. What is it?
Gratitude and humility.
Ooh, those are good ones. I'm always trying to find that balance between wanting more and being grateful for what I have.
It's a constant balancing act, isn't it?
It is.
But Sarah was saying that, practicing gratitude helps us appreciate what we already have.
Instead of focusing on what we lack.
Yeah, and it's about finding joy in those little things.
Yeah.
Not taking things for granted.
It's like shifting your perspective, right?
It is, yeah.
And seeing the abundance that's already there.
And David said that humility goes hand in hand with gratitude.
Oh, yeah. They do go together, don't they?
Yeah, it's about realizing that we're all human.
We're not perfect.
We all mess up. A mature person doesn't think they're better than anyone else.
I like that.
It's that respect for other people's opinions again, isn't it?
Right.
Even if you disagree with someone, you can still treat them with kindness.
Recognize their humanity.
Right. We're all in this together.
You know, what really sticks with me from their conversation is that maturity isn't like a destination.
No, it's not like you arrive one day and you're mature.
Yeah. It's a journey
That's a process.
of growth, of self-development.
And it looks different for everyone.
Right. And that's okay.
There's no one definition of maturity.
But this conversation, like, it gave us some good signs to look for.
Those qualities that help us grow.
And build good relationships.
Oh, yeah. What were those?
Accountability, resilience, empathy, humility, and adaptability.
Those are great.
Right?
They capture what we've been talking about.
And they're all things we can get better at over time.
Absolutely. We can keep learning and growing.
It's inspiring to think of it that way. Like,
Yeah.
maturity is something you're always working towards.
It is.
What stood out to you from all these signs?
You know, for me, it's how all these qualities are connected.
They work together.
Yeah, you can't really separate them.
Like a web almost.
It is.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose one place to start, it would be taking responsibility and being open to feedback.
Ooh, those are good ones.
Together, they create this like cycle of growth.
Because when you own your mistakes and you're really open to learning, you're constantly evolving.
You are. It's like this upward spiral.
I love that. An upward spiral of self-improvement.
Feel that?
But we need patience, don't we?
We do. We need patience.
Because growth takes time.
It does, yeah.
Whether it's personal growth or, you know, in our relationship.
Our relationships, yeah.
We have to be patient with ourselves and patient with others.
Yeah, because like you said, everyone's on their own timeline.
I think patience helps us, you know, handle those bumps in the road.
It does. It's a reminder that none of us are like finished products.
We're works in progress.
Yeah, always evolving.
That's a good thing. That's the beauty of it, right?
It is.
This whole maturity thing. It's not about being perfect or reaching some like ultimate destination.
It's about the journey.
The journey. I liked it.
It's about enjoying that process.
I'm really glad we had this conversation.
Me too. It's given me a lot to think about.
It's like David and Sarah gave us this like roadmap, but not to a specific endpoint,
right?
But to a better way of living.
To a richer, more fulfilling life.
Yeah. And it made me think of a question that I think David and Sarah would want us to consider.
What's that?
How can you apply one of these signs of maturity in your life today?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. It could be something small, like taking a moment to pause before you respond to, you know, that stressful email.
Oh, yeah. Been there.
Or maybe it's asking someone for feedback on something you're working on.
Ooh, good one.
Or even just taking a few minutes to really appreciate the good things in your life.
Yeah, cultivate that gratitude.
It's about taking these insights and turning them into action.
I love that.
Even small steps can make a big difference over time, right?
They can. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Embrace those challenges, learn from everything, and never stop growing.
That is beautifully said. Thank you so much to David and Sarah from the English Dialogue Podcast.
Yes, thank you.
For inspiring this conversation. We hope you all enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's amazing how powerful a good conversation can be.
It really is.
And how important it is to keep growing, keep learning.
So that wraps up our deep dive into the signs of a mature person.
We hope you learned a few things.
And that you feel empowered to embrace your own journey of growth.
Your own unique journey.
Exactly. Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep learning.
And keep striving to be the best version of yourself.